All right, welcome to episode 2 of what every athlete must know. So that's every competing athlete. I'm pretty excited about this episode because I think it will help a lot of athletes as far as providing a timeline of what to do when. So put your glasses on, grab your paper and pen, and take some notes. This is being brought to you by the NPC Natural Indianapolis, November 10th. We are excited about that. All right, so let's start out we're going to start out at the 24 to 30 week mark, okay? Get your entry form in. I know, right? Says the promoters. Yes, we promote shows. Yes, it helps the show for you to get your entry form in. That's not why we're saying to do that so far in advance. If you've competed before, you know it's a different ball game by not giving yourself that out. The second I signed my entry forms this year, it was game on, don't call me for sushi, let's go. Sign the dotted line, it will change your psychology, it will change your mentality.
Yeah, definitely don't put that off, you guys. I've seen athletes who, they'll have everything done, their hotel, their tan, their hair, their makeup, but that commitment really isn't there without that entry form, and they'll drop. And now you've paid for all these other things on top of, halfway prepping, and you don't have a show to go do because you weren't fully committed. So
yeah, and then you're sitting in the stands being like, that guy has my trophy. Give it back. And I have seen that. So don't give yourself an out. What do they call? Burn the bridges.
Burn the ships.
Burn the ships. Yeah, you are there
don't
to
burn
go.
Bridges. Burn
You are going there for war. You are on the beachfront. Burn the ships. There's no turning back.
Absolutely.
All right, 16 weeks out.
So 16 weeks out, these are really good too. You want to book your hotel. If it's not a local show, if you don't have the luxury of staying at home, book the hotel. Use the host hotel. Typically there's discounts for athletes, but they book up fast,
They
you
do.
guys. You don't want to be that athlete that you're already driving, let's say you're doing a show that's a little bit of ways from your home. You're already driving an hour or so. Now you got to go check in and go drive to your hotel that night. It's exhausting. You're tired. When we competed this summer, actually one of the shows was in Indy, but it was a little bit on the north side. And so we were like, you know what? Let's just get a hotel room. Let's go. We'll go early. We'll relax. Because when we get to your final week of your timeline, you're going to understand how important that is. But man, you're exhausted. You literally, we tanned, we registered, we checked in, and we went to bed. It was like 7 o'clock at night. We were like grandma and grandpa going to bed. You also want to make sure that you are booking your tan about 16 weeks out. Super important. And then also females, hair and makeup. And I personally, we personally promote that you use the sponsored tanning and the sponsored hair and makeup people. The biggest reason is convenience. You guys, they have been chosen, they're working with the promoters, they have an N. Typically, hair and makeup and outside tanning products aren't even allowed in the venue. So God forbid something happens, you sweat off your tan, you sweat off your hair, your makeup's a mess, whatever. Sweat off your hair.
Right.
If that person isn't even allowed in the venue, now you're scrambling, you're stressed, and we all know what stress does to our bodies. So you don't want to show up on stage like, hey, I looked better last night.
Right.
Or I looked better 2 days ago because my day was so stressful today because I didn't book in time, because I didn't follow this timeline, because I didn't use the show sponsors. So those are huge importance. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, so 30 weeks out, get your entry forms in. A lot of promoters nowadays too are offering incentives. We're doing the hats and the tanks, like really cool stuff. Yeah. So just another added benefit. Erica covered it. 16 weeks out, get the hotel booked. You don't want to be staying at the Motel 8 down the road because the host hotel is full. Get your tan and hair and makeup. And one thing we didn't touch on is why you want to book tanning and hair and makeup in advance is so you get those good times.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. You want to talk just quickly to that?
Yeah, especially the hair and makeup for you females. I honestly, I was knocking down the promoters' doors, like, who is your hair and makeup person?
Sure.
Because I want to book it now, because you're already in for a long day, right? And so now you don't want to be like 2 weeks out having the hair and makeup person squeeze you in and you're getting your hair done at 4 a.m. And it happens.
Yeah.
So for me, I booked the second these two shows I did in August announced who their hair and makeup person was. I was messaging Michelle and I was like, hey, can I do, and I got to pick what time I did because I booked so early. So I was able to structure my day. I wanted to make sure that timing-wise worked out, that I saw him, that I had enough time to pump up, to get changed, and all of those things that go along with the day of show.
Yep, absolutely. So at the 12-week out mark, that's when we suggest that you get your sanction card. If you're competing in NPC, you just go to NPC News Online. You can buy your card right there. They'll ship it to you. Sometimes they do get lost in the mail, but you'll have an email right to your phone, and it's a done deal. Yes, you can absolutely buy those the day before at check-in, but it's cash only, and it's one more thing for you to remember. Just get it at the 12 weeks. I say 12 weeks so that when they do mail you your actual paper card, there's time for mailing and things of that nature. But in today's technical world, they'll send you an email, you'll be good to go. So 12 weeks, get your sanctioning body's card. Again, if you're competing with the NPC, then you go to NPC News Online and grab that.
Awesome. So that's about 12 weeks. At 9 weeks, you guys should really start to be looking at ordering your suit. For females, buying your shoes if you don't have those already, or borrowing, or making sure they fit. For shoes especially, they're not comfortable. You guys, they're just not. But the more you wear them around the house, cleaning, cooking, while you're practicing your posing, the more comfortable you're going to get with them. So if you're waiting until 2 or 3 weeks out and you're putting on these shoes that are just killing your feet, like your toes, my toes go numb in mine. And so I had to get myself used to those, because you're not going to want to walk out stage with numb toes, right? You're going to be the girl that falls off of her heels.
Right.
We've seen it happen. Your suit is really, really important. You don't want to go too early because your body's going to be changing through this process. You definitely don't want to go too late, because the suit person, especially if they're making you a suit,
right,
they've got to have time to do that. They've got to make sure it's perfected. I ordered mine, and the process was she shipped it to me. I buttoned and tied it and made sure it was to my fitting, and then I shipped it back to her. The beautiful thing, again, she was a show sponsor of Suits by Amy, and if I needed anything, she was, basically at my beck and call. She would fix things. She would be there on show day to sew something on the spot if need be. And then also at 9 weeks, if you plan on hiring a posing coach, I would start right about that time.
Man, I wish I would have done that, because that's when you want to pose. You're looking good and you still have the energy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I have some of my best shots at the 9 week out, because I'm I still have energy,
And you're looking good. The changes are being made. So
right.
And
we ended up hiring a posing coach at 2 weeks out, and I'm looking for any excuse to cancel on this person so I can take a nap.
Yeah, so tired. And also at that point, if you've been practicing poses that maybe this new coach you're going to hire at the last minute is like, no, we need to change all that.
Right.
Now in your mind, you have to change all this stuff, and it's just, it's rough. So 9 weeks is a really good time frame for that.
Yeah. And my posing did not come off as polished because of that. It was at the 2 weeks. She's like, hey, you need to work on these transitions. And they just didn't come natural to me because I'm clumsy as a shark. And I'll have to, for next prep, I'll get those transitions in. It probably wasn't a make or break it, but you always want to act as if you're a professional. And professionals are prepared. Those that fail to prepare to fail. And that's why we're providing you this time list.
Absolutely.
So 9 weeks out, suits, shoes, posing coach. Absolutely. So 6 weeks out. That's probably a good time. You want to get your fan club there. When we did the show in Michigan, man, Michigan's got it going on. They promote some great shows. I had my whole fan club there, and I decided to do the show 6 hours before that show.
Don't do that.
But generally, I would have all of that taken care of so my family can sit together. The sport's expensive. It's $30-$40 to get into these things. You want to plan that. You don't want Aunt Sue to not know it's cash only at the day of.
That's huge, you guys. Read your entry forms.
Yes.
We, especially us as promoters, we put probably 3 or 4 times it's cash only at the door. And every single show that we've ever put on, we have grumpy fans come in. Well, I didn't know it was cash only, and they have to leave. Now they're afraid they're going to miss your class. You don't want that to happen.
Right.
And so just make sure that if you know ahead of time you can get tickets, do it, or prepare your friends and your family.
Yeah.
Make sure they have the right amount. Make sure they have cash. I would
Parking,
suggest
shoot, you got at 6 weeks, that's a good
Yeah.
time. Is the venue charging for parking? I know that was an issue this year.
Is parking on site? Do they
Yeah.
gotta park elsewhere and walk?
Right,
Does
is
grandma
charging-
need to be dropped off? I mean, these are things that you guys,
Yeah.
at 6 weeks, your brain is still functioning pretty well.
Right.
So you wanna start thinking these things through, especially first-time athletes. These are things that I wouldn't have ever
Yeah, you
thought
just don't think of.
And the other thing too is most shows will let you do will call for tickets. So if you're buying your family's and friends tickets or they're paying for them or whatever, put them at will call so you're not having to run from backstage to meet them out front because they can't come in without their tickets.
Right.
And that's just another stressor for you on your show
Yeah.
day.
Get the tickets pre-ordered, get it out of the way. You can typically, depending on the show, pay via credit card in advance.
Yeah.
And be good to go. So that's always at the 6 weeks. And at the 6 weeks, there's still good seats available. You want to get VIP again if you want to sit everyone together and so forth.
Yes.
Also, that's a good time to start looking at photography and videography. I know I always buy a video for the show so I can kind of see what the judges are seeing. And I always look, hey, are they running a deal? Hey, if I get my video now, is there any incentive as far as, as opposed to getting it the day off? So just look for those little incentive type things. You might want to ask the promoter. It may not be on the entry form, but it doesn't hurt.
Absolutely. We put on this timeline 6 weeks. It doesn't have to be this far out, but if you're planning on like a massage the final week or the day before, I would book it early. We actually tried to do one before our first show in August, and I wanted her to come to the house and just do it here, and she was completely booked up. So make sure if there's someone that, a specific person for things like your massages, your hair, your nails, females, things like that you book them, schedule them. Don't be showing up at the nail salon and now you're mad because you got to sit there for 2 hours waiting for a spot.
Right. So now we're up to your final week, and what just happened? There's nothing for you to do really as an athlete. You've done it all. There's no stress, man.
No magic.
Yeah, there's not like, oh my gosh, I got to do this, I got to do that, I'm running around, I got to get my entry form in. What's the form? Where do I send it? How much is the late fee and all that nonsense?
Yes.
So,
You would be, in the few years I've been a part of our shows, the things that I see on check-ins and the things that I see on show day, and that's why we're doing this for you guys.
100%.
Live through our mistakes, live through the mistakes that we've watched other people make.
Right.
But man, reducing that stress, having all of this done and just out of the way, so you're not showing up, because you're still going to show up to check-ins.
Right.
Just exhausted, right? And being like, wait, did I bring my NPC card? Did I
Right.
have it on my phone? I mean, that's still gonna be there, but the stress won't really be there because you went through this timeline.
Yeah. So the final week, you're following your tanning instructions, you're doing the exfoliating, you're reviewing your entry form, multiple times, so you know where the venue's at, you know where the check-in's at, because they're typically 2 different locations.
Know what times to be there, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Don't show up late for check-in. Don't show up late for the athlete meeting. I mean, these are things that the sponsors and the staff, the judges put on for you as athletes. But you also don't want to make that bad impression that you're running in a half hour late and now they're waiting on you.
Right. And then always make sure you pack your show bag with some resistor bands. Some shows kind of have a pump-up room, other shows don't. So you always want to make sure you pack some bands, some additional food in there, an extra suit, things of that nature. That's maybe things we can touch on in a whole other episode. But hopefully this timeline kind of gave you that light bulb moment, and it's something you can refer back to, and you've taken some good notes, and rock on.
Awesome. Have a great night, guys.
All right, cool.